Hello, welcome, what is up? Welcome to episode 333 of the esports podcast, also known as the Center Ring. And this is going to be the best episode ever because we have a ton of Valorant news to get to. So we'll do a little Valoranting on its 1-year birthday. Happy birthday, Valorant. As well as some major moves in the Counter-Strike world. So we'll talk about that, as well as e-news to wrap up the show. But before we get to any of that, let me tell you about the show's sponsor in Alt Esports. AltEsports.com. It's where you need to go to represent the #1 team in the world for Valorant. It also just happens to be North American. Not a big deal. Not a big deal. Alt Esports, official partners with Sentinels. You can go there right now. Get yourself shirts, Sentinels pants. I think if they still have them, they used to have Sentinel sweatpants, which can never go wrong with. If you liked the championship jacket that the players walked out into, guess what? You could wear that same exact jacket. Better yet, wear it to the bar. Girls won't know, promise you. They could be like, wow, what an awesome looking jacket. It looks so good. And you could be like, guess what? This is a championship jacket. And they'd be like, what? Are you a champion? And you tell them yes. And they would know no different. Then you take them home, respect them, Anuj, respect them. And maybe they'll respect you back. Consensual sex. That's what the kids are about nowadays. So wear that jacket, do exactly what someone in the Sentinels uniform didn't do, and represent it well.
I was waiting for that to go full circle. Waiting.
I was filibustering until I could figure out how to get that one in there. So represent Sens well with consensual sex while wearing the jacket from Alt Esports. That's how we bring it back. AltEsports.com.
Hey, this is Doa, and you're listening to The Center Ring.
Okay, so let's start.
Hello, everybody. Hello, and welcome back. Welcome back to another edition of The Center Ring Esports Podcast, aka TCR, aka your favorite esports podcast, presented by Alt. Episode 333 coming to you live and or pre-recorded from an undisclosed location. The date, June 2nd, 2021. The time, 9:10 p.m. Central Standard Time. Go ahead and follow us on Twitter at The Center Ring. If you're not doing so already, make sure you join the Discord. And if you want to support the show, the Patreon link is there as well. My name is Tim. I'll be your captain for this journey into esports. And alongside me, as always, is my best friend, my brown friend, my gray t-shirt friend. It's Anuj. What's up?
I expect a script coming from Alt on our next show. They gave us too much freedom. Too much freedom. And now the tides are about to change. I feel it.
Sex sells, Anuj. Consensual sex.
That's the key word there.
Consensual sex sells. Nothing is sexier than permission. Slogan. That's what I always say. No. Alt's always very cool about it. I've yet to hear. It's either they don't listen to the show or they're cool with it and we have it cross the line.
It's definitely a 50-50.
It's a pretty hard 50-50 and I don't know which one it is. But either way, you're looking good if you're wearing Alt. That's what I always say. Happy Pride Month. Anuj, it's June. Did you know that? Hey, in case you haven't been on Twitter in the last 48 hours, everyone, it's Pride Month.
It is, and June is like just the craziest celebrated month in both of our households already, so it's just another thing to add to the list.
Birthdays, anniversaries, it is a celebratory month for show. My birthday, June 20th. Yours, when is yours?
Mine the 12th, Hudson's the 18th, Kelly's the 23rd, anniversary the 27th.
And Father's Day this year on the 20th. Not a big deal.
And Father's Day.
Double dipping on
I
that.
keep getting asked what I want for my birthday and for Father's Day. I've asked you already to give me some ideas. Really didn't have much lined up because we both kind of just, we're one of those, we're fortunate enough to be in a position to generally, if we want something, I don't need to
I
wait
want to
6
be
months
left
for
alone.
something.
That's what I want. I want to be left alone.
If I had to ask for a tangible item, I need the listeners' help. Okay, so this is like a community effort here, guys. I need y'all's help. I need Tim's help. Give me 2 gift ideas, or at least one solid one that could take up 2 gift ideas. I have nothing. I really have nothing. The only thing I could think of was should I ask for, I want an AR, so it'd be nice to maybe have one, but
right.
I don't want it that bad because I don't go shooting all that often.
But it would still be cool to have
times a year, but it'd be cool to have.
So that's why you have to use it now, right? You have to get my thing is gifts should be your stupid purchase, right? So an AR is kind of the perfect thing because it is a stupid purchase. Like you said, we don't go shooting very often. I've owned a shotgun since the start of COVID, haven't gone shooting once with it.
Which we need to get out to Elm Fork and go do those courses they have out there. That is a ton of fun.
I concur. We should go shooting sometime soon. I am looking at my gift right now for my birthday and Father's Day. Got this.
Yeah, you're probably done. I would guess
all
until
year.
2022.
All year.
Yeah,
I won't even get birthday sex after this.
Christmas.
Yeah, no birthday, no Father's Day sex for me. It's done. The well has dried up. It's good. Well warranted though. I have a new computer that can play games this century, so that's a plus. I'm looking at my new ultra wide monitor. The way I have the windows broken up for the show is different, so getting used to it. Also, friendly reminder, it is the second show on the new computer, so if audio sounds funny, it's up to you, the listener, to let me know to go back and fix it. So it is up to you. Remember that. If it sounds funny, different is okay. If it sounds weird, though, you got to let me know. Different is to be expected because it's on a new computer and that's just how things work. But either way. No, I'm first off, I haven't had a whole lot of time to dive in with the ultra wide on gaming sense, but just from productive working sense, awesome.
Yeah,
really,
it's really something. It's it's so multifunctional, which is nice. And trust me, the gaming side will come. We have things that we'll probably get into a little bit more in e-news, but there's some upcoming titles that are going to be incredibly fun to play on that thing. Plus, dude, you got this thing 10 days before E3. Really perfect timing. Talk about getting you hyped up for anything upcoming. You're about to find out in 10 days. So you have the hype of the computer, and then you're going to get a hype of what games you get to play coming up.
Very excited. Very excited. I'm also excited, though, to break down some Valorant news with you, Anuj, because despite Iceland just ending a couple days ago, the news has picked up. We were in a lull there. And this is what my favorite thing about majors in any sport is there's always a lull of news because nothing really happens during the finals or, teams aren't making any moves yet. But then the second it's done, we just get a booming of roster moves and, developer news and things like that. So let's start off with the big one because it's where we finished off last episode, and it's what is going on with TenZ, Cloud9, and Sens. What is going on with this love triangle? Well, we didn't have to wait long because just today, or last night, one of the two, I'm getting everything mixed up at this point, but the news broke. It is official. Sentinels have signed TenZ. They have bought out the contract or bought him from Cloud9. He's been on loan for $250K. Well, they bought out for $1.25 million. So you asked me last episode, do I think it would be over or under $1 million? I said without a doubt it would be 7 figs. And surely it was.
Yeah, no, it came in. Right where people were kind of talking online of a million is what they were thinking, you know, at least $1 million, and turned out to be right there, right? Like I don't know if the 1.25 is including that 250 that they were paying on the loan fee.
I would
I'm
think not,
glad,
but
yeah, I'm glad they had a buyout option. That was incredibly smart because they really would have been in a bad spot. Imagine if there wasn't one and this is what they were set up to pay. Like it could have been pretty nasty there. But look, awesome deal for both sides. I've seen a lot of negativity um, around this deal, saying that they overpaid, right? And how do you get your ROI? Well, ROI has never been from the team investment side.
right.
That's not where
That's not what
Sentinels is going to
esports is
make their
about.
money. That's not where any teams make their money. Nobody has a team and is like, oh, they make enough content for us or do enough of, stuff outside of the game to generate revenue. Like they don't, right? Like very rarely do good teams have players that contribute in any way, outside of basic social media posts from time to time. And so I think this is a great deal. You got the best player in the world after you just saw him compete with your team. Like it's not like you're taking a chance on an unknown. This is the most known commodity we have. Is you came out with the championship just a handful of days ago.
If anything, this is the safest, most smartest signing in esports history because we've actually got to see, hey, the question of, man, I wonder if this signing's going to work out. The answer's been answered, or the question's been answered. Yes, the answer is a resounding yes. You've already won the first Masters, major, whatever you want to call it, international level of play. You've already are at the top of the mountain, considering you've been in there from the very beginning. Like, people are concerned about ROI. The ROI has already been there. They've already won. And in esports, that's all these teams care about. They'll figure out, sponsors and things like that, but you've gotten the...
You don't get sponsors without winning.
Right.
Like if you're a bad team, what sponsorships are you getting? You're going to get a random ass energy drink and some gambling site, right?
Yeah.
Like that's pretty much what you have in the bag if you are a below average team.
You have the top Valorant streamer when he wants to stream, right? Hiko might say something about it, but for the most part, top streamer.
You're going to sell more merch, with your team winning. Like there's just so many positives to having the best player in the world on your team. Like it's paid dividends for them already. So I think the only thing I would be nervous about if I were Sentinels is, will he stay motivated long enough for this deal to be worth it? Right now, some would argue, well, you already got a championship, so could you say it's already worth it? Well, they paid the money after the championship, right? Like the deal was signed after they won the Masters. So for me, I think that would be my only concern is like, did he quit last time because he got tired of the game already? He did not like his team. He didn't like the fact that there wasn't LAN. Like, which one was it exactly? Because I think there are some differences in how I would feel, about, obviously we knock on him a lot, but we really don't know why he took the break. Like that does make a really big
he
difference
says because he wanted to play on LAN. That doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, as like you're willing to put your pro career on hold because you have to play online. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Plus, we've also seen from TenZ.
Financially, it probably did, though. He probably made more streaming over those few months.
But I mean, hell, you could almost say that even with LAN, right? Like financially, it'll probably make sense just to stream. Look at Shroud, right? Hell, he made more money in a day streaming than he ever did his pro career. That being said, though, we've also seen in the past TenZ be flaky with Cloud9, right? With CS and obviously with Valorant. He's been flaky. So will this hopefully not be the case if they start losing? Like, are we currently in a honeymoon phase? And on your honeymoon, for us married folks, we know on your honeymoon, your bank account doesn't exist, right? You spend and whatever. When you're on your honeymoon, there is no budget. You just spend the money. And I feel like that's where Sentinels are at. Now, I do think it's money well spent. I don't see it going the route of Cloud9, where TenZ all of a sudden in a month or two, if they don't continue this winning ways, just to all of a sudden be like, guys, I'm out, right? Hopefully he feels okay about this decision. Obviously, with the amount getting out there, he's going to have some added pressure now. Now he is the $1 million man, right? Before it was just, hey, TenZ is a sub and he's filling in and go loose, go crazy, man. Well, now it's almost like he's right back where he was with Cloud9. He is, the center of attention is on him. You were $1.25 million. And assuming with the loan, you're $1.5 million man. So now the pressure is on TenZ yet again to say, okay, let's not regret this decision.
No, and I don't think they will. I mean, they're so much better than the competition right now that there's a lot of catching up for people to do to get where Sentinels are right now. Like, no other team has a 5 stack that really comes even close, even on the NA side, right? They were dominating NA before the Masters. It's not like they just won their way into the Masters and they were the 2 best teams during this particular qualifying stage. No, they've really been the best, except for a handful of events that TSM took early on, but they're a shadow of the team that they were.
I mean, I think maybe there was one match where they struggled with TenZ, but other than that,
it's just been so consistent, right? Like, they've just been really good against the best competition, whether that was at Masters or even through the end of the qualifying stage where they had TenZ running them through. Like, they've played so well. So I do think it's a safe bet. I think they'll continue to win. I don't think this is like a one and done type team. I do believe right now, like, NA just has the best quality of like overall teams. Like, we're not just top heavy. I think there's a lot of depth. I think with the shuffle that's coming up that we're going to get into here, like, teams have the opportunity to get better because there is a ton of talent that people are now finding that early on was kind of hard to recognize, but now there's been enough events and enough play time against, in qualifying matches with teams that are not so highly rated. You can find this talent, and I think that'll happen even more so in NA now. And look, Sentinels, like I said, I think they're just head and shoulders above the competition right now. So going into stage 4, they are the heavy favorite. Like, it's not changing. Like, there's not much anybody can do that would change that perception, at least heading into stage 4 and then come champions.
And on the other side of this deal, we do have Cloud9, which I said last episode, if I were them, I wouldn't budge $1 below what I wanted, because I really felt like the chips were all in their favor on this one. They had TenZ on contract, rightfully so. I saw some people online before this signing putting the heat on Cloud9's. Sean Garris, who I, obviously respect a ton, beautiful face, was saying how, TenZ is in contract hell for 3 years, and he signed, when he was young and blah, 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 and signed so young, and acting it like Cloud9 took advantage of him. What? The only contract hell TenZ was in is because TenZ put himself in it. TenZ walked away from his contract. It wasn't in contract hell. That's what a contract is.
Well, and the fact that Cloud9 still even had him on contract was a blessing to him, because he's the one that quit on the CS team, right? So by quitting on the, leaving or getting kicked off, whatever, like the situation was there, leaving the CS team, and they still kept you on as a streamer, like, they've done right by you. Like, they kept you employed at a time where you were not professional in any sport or esport at the time, and decided to keep you and leave you on as a content creator for them, which worked out for both of y'all. Like, that was a mutual partnership. And then you decided to sign a long-term deal for Valorant. Like, once again, that is 100% on him. He's young, but he's experienced. This was not a first contract signing that he went into. So he's been around long enough to know the situation that you put yourself in. And I think with Cloud9, I don't necessarily think all the chips were stacked in Cloud9's favor, because at the end of the day, there also had to be another buyer, which I'm sure there would have been, but he would have needed to be willing to commit to that other team long term for another buyer to truly be interested. Like, could TSM afford him? Yes, 100%. But would he have said, I'm going to stay on TSM and play there for the long-term future? Probably not. So he also had some power in this negotiation. I think the price ended up being a fair price, though. Like, I don't feel like somebody price gouged somebody.
No. I don't
at
think
that.
so
It's
either.
expensive, but you did get the best player in an up and coming esport. And should Valorant take off, which I think it's still at a very early stage, right? Like this is not, hopefully this is not the peak. If this is the peak, then this becomes Overwatch, right? Where the peak is your first inaugural real year and then it kind of slips down from there. So assuming that this esport grows, this will be a great deal because you're building a legacy early on in this game. And look at how we look at legacy teams in Counter-Strike, for again, the easy go-to for us. Fnatic, Luminosity, even previous NIP, like going back dating further, those teams are immortalized in the game. So if you have a chance to do that and go on a year or two run here, you take it, because you're setting yourself up for A, the future within Valorant, but B, if you are a powerhouse team, it's going to be hard for Riot to turn away from you come the league system time. That also is an important role in this, is they're only going to take X number of teams from NA. And if you have consistently been a top 1 or 2 team, they're not going to turn you down. Like, that's just not going to happen, assuming you have the buy-in money, which, look, they have money, obviously, and they're going to get more of it now, I would assume. This has just a lot of other factors in play that makes this a good deal outside of the game, too.
So let's keep it on the same thread with Sentinels. Some drama around this side of things. Sinatra and Shazam. They were playing together on stream. Sinatra had this moment. I had the audio, but it's not worth playing, to be honest with you. Just kind of has a little breakdown with Shazam. Little heart to heart saying, man, people just don't get it. They don't get it, and he starts breaking down on stream. Super awkward, because Shazam's in this situation now where on the day that it was announced that Sinatra has pretty much been toast on Sentinels, I saw some people saying, like, man, what a six-man roster. It is not a 6-man roster. That is not how this is thought up of. You don't pay $1.25 million to have a 6-man roster. Okay? Yeah. Sinatra is just on contract at this point. I still think he is technically on Sens, but they're just hoping he clears so they can make some of that 1.25 back by selling him to a team that is desperate enough to have,
releasing him at some point fully, right?
Well, that's if obviously they'll release him at some point. I'm just saying, if they're probably waiting to see what comes out on the other side of this, because if you can make some money off of it, probably it's a smart business decision.
Look, until we have a verdict on that situation, like, it's really hard to comment on it, because I don't want to say he's guilty, although the evidence is kind of stacked up against him, right? So I don't want to say, oh, he's already done for, but he is done for on Sentinels. That's
done.
Fact.
The ship has sailed.
That's fact. They're moving on. They've moved on. They're not moving on. They have moved on at this point.
It's like if my wife and I decided to take a break, and on that break, Kate Upton walked up to me and was like, Tim, I've always loved you and I want to be with you. Like, my wife could be found innocent of all wrongdoing, but I got Kate Upton now. Like, sorry, babe. It's done. Like, they have TenZ. They've won championships. It's done.
I'm waiting for her to walk in the room behind you.
She's out of the house. She texted me. She said she's running to the store. So I can say anything I want right now. Because let me tell you what, if she does listen to the show, she's not listening 23 minutes in, Anuj.
No,
she's an intro listener and out. she listens to the intro and she is done. So I can say whatever I want right now. Mainly my point here, though, too, Shazam is also taking some heat for this. Obviously playing with Sinatra, who still averages 10,000 a stream, by the way. Sinatra does. So it's not like the community has completely turned on him. He's still doing quite well as far as popularity-wise goes. But Shazam has had to make a statement, as you would, and said, look, this isn't me choosing sides on anything, right? I'm paraphrasing here, but he's pretty much said, I got an invite and I hit accept and I played with him. That's kind of the story here.
He won't do that again.
No, and definitely not. At least not on stream. Now, this probably tells me that they probably have communicated a little bit, because if you were willing to hit accept, you probably just said, oh, it's Sinatra. Okay, I'll play. Anuj, I want you to know, if anything like this scenario happened to either one of us, let's make a pact right now to not play together on stream.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, we'll still have our little text chat open, though, I'm sure.
Of course, but that's
Just like they do. Like, look, they're all boys, and you're gonna believe your friend, I think, until you have a verdict, right? Like, you're at least gonna give them the benefit of the doubt. Like, that's normal. That's not a bad thing, guys. Okay, like it's okay if your stance is, I'm going to still be in your corner if you need somebody to talk to. And then once the verdict comes down one way or the other, it might change our relationship at that point, right? Like, depending on what comes out. So
you're my boy until proven guilty.
Yeah, like, I'm not going to sit here and shit on Shazam for playing with him. Like, was it a smart idea when you're both in the public eye to do that on stream? Probably not. And I'm sure he regrets that at this point, and he's not going to do that again. But, like, do I think he's a complete dumbass for doing this, and now he is like a rape baiter and like is like okay with all of this stuff? No, I don't think that either. Like, dudes, for Sinatra's side, and not saying he has like a case or anything like that, but like, he's also going through hell in his own way, right? Regardless of right or wrong, like, he's also going through some stuff. Like, we can, I'm sure, admit to that. Like, it's got to be tough to see your former team winning a championship. It's tough to see your spot get taken that day while you're live on stream. Like, that stuff is also tough to deal with in his own way. And so it is what it is. One of those things where it's just a sad situation because it's a great career, could be potentially thrown away. Even worse if he's found guilty, because then you have another person in play who is going to be dealing with a ton of more stuff emotionally than we could fathom. So it's just a bad situation. And this, unfortunately, doesn't help because it kind of brings it back into the spotlight for everyone, right? So I have no hate towards Shazam and doing what he did either, though. Like, probably still friends. Like, it's not surprising.
No, I just more so got a chuckle because, it's just... Come on, bro. You're going to play with him on the day you guys announced that you're replacing him? First off, ballsy to even play with him on the day you announced that you're replacing him. Like, that's insane in itself. But then to do it on stream is nuts.
And then for Sinatra to start crying and get emotional and have to turn his cam off, like, all of that stuff is like, dude, you should have probably just turned off the stream. Like, you needed a minute. You needed some time. I don't know.
Listen, guilty or not, a gamer can respect game. The fact that all he did was turn off his camera and then alt-tab right back into the game to make the push, props.
Yeah.
You're sitting here crying about how it's like you almost could be found guilty of sexual assault, but like you're still like, listen here, cops, I'm going to finish this game. I can respect that at least, right?
Yeah.
Like
didn't quit on the team.
Not a quitter. Not a.
But still could have ended the stream, right?
Sinatra might be guilty of some things.
You could do that.
Quitting is not one of them.
And get your emotions together and all that. But yeah, it's crazy. Like I said, this whole situation is just mind blowing. Like, if we had said, "Hey, Sinatra's gonna not be on this team," and Sentinels is still gonna find a way to win the Masters, you would have thought I was out of my damn mind. And they have done the most extreme player swap, with Sinatra also being, at the time, him and TenZ were considered 1-2 in the game, right? Like, the two best players from NA, and to be able to swap out that way and do what they've done is crazy.
That's the insane part, that you swapped out, you essentially swapped out Tom Brady for
Peyton Manning.
Right.
Like, you're doing okay,
It's nuts.
So
just trying to think of another quarterback, and for whatever reason, my mind went blank. Who's the guy from Kansas City? Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
There you go. That would have been a good one. Peyton Manning's retired now. But that just goes to show, because I was also thinking Peyton Manning, but we're just old. 98 days to football, by the way, Nooch. 98 days. Mark it on your calendar.
I got the beautiful sport of basketball holding me through this time. So as long as we don't get eliminated,
I'm not a basketball guy.
I'll be okay.
I want to be a basketball guy. At one point in my youth, I was a basketball guy. I'm not a basketball guy. But you got hockey. Playoff hockey is an all-time high. Getting back to esports, though, one thing that a rumor at this moment in time that, listen, if you listen to TCR, this is old news for you, because we told you the second the announcement of the signing happened that this was going to happen. And T1 is now looking at rumors of dropping their IGL DazD. This has been earmarked since the moment he signed on with the roster. DazD is not long to be a professional. He's just not. He's not long to be a stable teammate. We've seen it happen one too many times. First off, this whole thing with him and Spider, right? Him and Skadoodle and Spider going on, and maybe it was nothing. Maybe it's all blown up on the social media side of things. But let's be real. Someone saying DazD was toxic isn't like mind-blowing breaking news, right? Like,
no,
someone going, listen, I'm sorry, DazD, but you're not going to get the benefit of the doubt if someone's saying you're being toxic and a bad teammate. Go watch any of your streams. Go talk to any of your old teammates. They all say the same thing. So is this partially due to their lack of performance? Sure. T1 has not been peak T1 as of late. But it also probably has to do with the fact that if you do have a bad attitude looming around you and a teammate complaining about you to ownership, your leash is short. And this is what happens.
Yeah, T1 seems like a complete shit show, you know? Like, there's really not anything that has happened there since the start of Valorant, other than the names of the signings, okay? So outside of the names of the signings, nothing has really happened for that team that's been positive. You know, like, they don't perform in pressure games, like it just doesn't happen. It hasn't happened. They've had roster transitions left and right. You know, we still have yet to see their new signings of Automatic and Curry really, like, you know, have multiple matches with these guys, and you know, Curry being brand new to the scene, Automatic obviously as well. But like, I just don't know what the dynamic of this team is. Like, is this a good thing for them? Like, it makes me nervous because like DazD and Skadoodle have a long history and are boys. Like, does this mean like I should be anticipating a Skadoodle move, or is Skadoodle happy because he's got his other friend Automatic on the team? Like, this whole team chemistry just seems so out of funk. Like, does Spider like fit into this team if he's had issues with Skadoodle? Like, are they really over with, especially now that, you know, DazD is gone? Does that maybe create more of a rift between them, thinking like, hey, you got my friend kicked off the team? Like, there's just so many things that go through my mind when I think of T1 that I'm like, are we ever going to talk about the damn game with them? Like, are they going to win something and like be good, or is this just going to be a team that's in constant state of chaos? Like, poor Automatic cannot catch a effing break. He got effed with Cloud9 with the situation of all of his friends leaving there. Genji bailed on Counter-Strike, and then he comes to T1 and is the most dysfunctional team in Valorant. Like, dude can't catch a break at the end of the day.
And, you know, I don't think DazD is going to be their last roster move for every reason that you just mentioned. Like, so if what we're hearing was true and it was Skadoodle and DazD and they were bullying Spider, I don't care what they say on social media, like, oh no, we talked about it, everything's good, guys. Don't worry over here. We're all fine in the T1 camp. I just don't see how that's possible, because we know in a team environment, in an esports environment, you don't forgive and forget that easy, especially if the underlying issues haven't been solved, right? What creates team headbutting within the locker room? Losing. Winning would help. If all of a sudden they turned around and things were good and they were winning, I would absolutely be more likely to believe that all of a sudden things have turned around and now they're all buddies. But you haven't fixed that. You're still losing. So no, I don't believe it for a second. If there was issue and team drama within the locker room, it has all of a sudden gone away because they've talked to ownership and decided to go out for lunch one day. I don't buy that for a second because Anuj, you know it's also an issue here, okay? And this is to no fault of Spider. Us Americans are good at a lot of things. Language barrier is not one of them.
No.
And
we're not culturally diverse over here, although you would think in a nation with a million different cultures.
We might be a melting pot, but
yeah,
not when it comes to working through a language barrier. And to no fault of Spider, that is also a huge issue. Like, it is hard to connect on an emotional level as a teammate.
Like, they probably communicate fine in game, but everywhere else that could be an issue, right?
You know, like, if it's like, hey, we're going out to eat, what do you want? I'm sure they can figure out from there. But as far as just shooting the shit, you know, hanging out in Discord and, oh, look at this or look at that or talk to me about your movie interests and things like that.
But Skadoodle also probably has a language barrier on his end too, right? Like,
just
it's both
talking
ways.
to other humans.
Yeah, like Spider's got his, I'm sure that makes it difficult.
Well, that's, yeah. So you have
Skadoodle's the other side of that coin where he doesn't like to communicate in general, so that doesn't help.
All right. You have Spider, who has a language barrier, speaks a different language, and then you have Skadoodle, the man who can speak English but doesn't want to. So,
like, I feel like Skadoodle is one of those guys that just has like a very close knit group, and that's who he like hangs out with and does his thing. Like, he doesn't come across as like a very social individual outside of his friend circle. At least on the few encounters that we've had with him, right? So, but that's the reports on him too. It's not like this is like undocumented stuff that we're talking about here. No. Like, personality just a little different, and that's fine. It's just that also creates a barrier within the team, especially for somebody like Spider, I would assume. So yeah, like, again, this team just has so many freaking issues. I just don't have faith in them to all of a sudden, like, let's get a new fifth in here. And I mean, this is not even, we haven't even talked about Brax.
Like, not even a new fifth, a new IGL. Like,
yeah,
you're getting rid of IGL at this point. You are starting over. This is a rebuild if you're doing this.
Yeah, I mean, look, how good was Daze at that job? I don't know, you know, so it's not like it might be hard to at least have somebody competent come in. But look, this team is paying a lot of money to house these players, in the sense of Skadoodle's probably not cheap, Automatic's not cheap. Curry, you probably could have got for cheap. He was coming from Tier 2 Counter-Strike, and he had quit Counter-Strike and was attending university. So, like, maybe you didn't have to pay a ton for him, but Spider was also making a salary playing video games. So, I mean, like, this is an expensive team. And so they're going to need to see results, or like you said, it's going to be more of a roster overhaul. But if I were them, I would continue to try and build around Automatic. And, you know, Skadoodle obviously should be part of that plan if he wants to be, but I think Automatic is a strong enough person to build a team around. I don't know about in Valorant, but if we're going off of what he has been able to do, he's a player that I would put my faith in to, like, hey, if we get the right people around this team, like, it could go really well. Like, you're a good leader.
And speaking of roster overhauls, we have on the EU side of things, G2 is doing, I mean, this is almost their second, I would say, roster overhaul, or is this just finally their first that they've been rumored about? But either way, G2 is looking at releasing pretty much their entire roster except for Mixwell and Pith.
Yeah, like, they had who was the first guy that they released? David P, I think it was. Yeah. You know, they released him and then did the swap out there, and now basically the rest of that core is gone that we saw win 8 championships in a row. 8 events,
tournaments,
or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
but I mean, they were in discussion for #1 in the world. It was them or Sentinels, right? Like, that was the discussion.
Really what it was, right? And so this team has now done a full overhaul. You know, they bring in 2 guys from Heretics. Heretics did really well through the qualification stage, kind of blew it at the end, but they've been considered, you know, one of the best teams. And then, as we talked about with the Send, like, the roster plucking from them, we knew was coming, and it's happened completely. Like, I think they've pretty much lost everyone, and Coldamenta or whatever is joining on with them. So excited for their future. Like, I don't think these are bad pickups. I'm surprised that they've done this type of overhaul with a team that was so good. Like, I would love to have a conversation with one of them and just ask, what, where did this go wrong? Like, was it you guys just didn't know how to handle losing, possibly? Like, you hadn't experienced that, and once it hit, something had to change. Like, it's just crazy to me, the
It almost
turnaround.
feels like it was just EU caught up to them. Like they were quick getting out of the gates with like the signing of like Mixwell and things like that, and getting those FPS raw talent in there. Where I guess maybe on the NA side we saw more of the FPS players shift over quicker. So maybe it was just like they were quick out of the gates, and then so it was just EU catching up. Maybe it wasn't necessarily that.
Yeah, I mean, it was really just like FPX was their only, that new and up and coming team that came in to EU and started competing with them and even beating them in a lot of cases. But like, again, they weren't losing a ton, but they felt like this was necessary, and I'm excited to see what they can do. Like, Mixwell and Pith already gets me excited enough, right? Both of those guys are very good players. Pith, a long time, also Counter-Strike Pro. For those of you that don't know, he was on NIP for a long time, but he's also been around for a while. So both very experienced players, bringing in good players from other teams. So let's see. They just gotta be able to put it together. I think they have the talent to be one of the best in EU. It's just, can we put this all together? And it's funny, if you go look at their page, like their manager, they have a coach, they have an analyst. So like G2 is heavily invested in this team being successful, and they're gonna have to find a way to make it work. Like they're doing these are big changes for this team. So excited to see what the future holds.
But on happy news, Valorant does officially turn 1 year old today. Official release of non-beta. So 1.0, I guess, was officially released today. 1 year of Valorant, Anuj. I would say for 1 year, very successful year, considering it feels like the game's been around for much longer. Like with the amount that we've talked about it, the hype that's been built around the community, the amount of effort that Riot has put into it. We've seen, 4, 5 agents added, 3 maps, if I'm doing it quickly in my head. I think 3 maps, already a rework of Split. So, I mean, obviously the attention to detail is there. Some notes, though, in the email that they sent out today, and also just announced all over Twitter. But mobile version of the game is set to come. So for those interested in that, there you go. I know we are not one of them. I'll download it probably just to see. Maybe get a charm or whatever. But there's that. A possible, this is all strictly rumors, but maybe this new duality coming out is rumored to be possibly a BR mode. I know in the teaser trailer, they had them, looks like coming out of like a helicopter dropship kind of thing. People have said they've seen BR coding in some folders. So who knows?
That would be a dream. I would absolutely love that, because this would be the first BR where shooting feels the way that we're comfortable in our games.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If that makes sense. Like, it's not.
So maybe a Valorant Riot twist on a BR.
Like that could be really cool. Like, you have the abilities. Like, it could be a little bit Apex-ish in terms of like the way abilities kind of work. And I don't know. Like, they could put a fun twist on it. BR works. It's proven. People play it. Like, it wouldn't be a bad thing. It would definitely boost their numbers if they made a BR involved.
And the way they do their different game modes is that even if it's just like a temporary one, even if it does suck, they can be like, well, it's only here for like 2 months, guys, so we'll move on to the next one.
It's gonna be probably the most played game mode if it launched, and it would end up being a permanent fixture.
So we'll see.
Probably go away from the 5v5 FPS altogether and just make it
and now it's just BR.
And so, no, it has been a crazy first year for Valorant. Like, it's a very successful first year, having to do all of this in a COVID world and still host the types of events and generate hype around those events without doing any of it in person. It's amazing. The mobile version, obviously, like you said, doesn't get us excited, but that is big news. A mobile version of a true 5v5 FPS is like, there's not many of them. Like, I think Call of Duty has their mobile version that obviously works and is successful. No reason why this won't do well too, especially outside of like the US and EU. There's several other regions out there where this will probably do really well. Um, Interesting fact: the 14 million player base monthly average is actually lower than I thought it was going to be. To be honest with you, to give you an idea, Counter Strike does about double that on a monthly average for player base. But you got to think Counter Strike's been around for 20 plus years and has like just a following like none other. That's why they are.
Yeah, I mean, it's older,
but
and
like
it's also like with Valorant, you're pretty much only playing competitive style of gaming. On Counter Strike, it's like you got surf maps and all the goofy custom maps people are in. So much, you know, I hate.
This is probably why they're trying to expand into those areas
Right.
with these one-off like timed events or a potential BR mode.
Of course, I just hate when people bring up even for Valorant. Like, yeah, it's cool, a monthly average player and everything like that. Tell that to your advertising partners, right? For people who can actually break it down and look at it, it's like, okay, you know, you're not really comparing apples to apples when you're looking at other games. There's so many factors involved to it. It's like on Twitch when people look at like hours watched, right? And you're like, okay, like I don't know what you want me to do with this number. It's a useless number to me. But
yeah, I mean, 14 is still an outrageous
monthly
number. That's a lot of people playing the game.
You're gonna have a successful game with 14 million players.
Yeah, now you got to figure out a way to retain and grow, right? And that's what you want to see. And so it'll be fun to discuss this a year from now and, you know, see what the numbers look like. But yeah, I mean, a really successful first year, and hopefully with just the more addition of agents throughout this next year and more maps and more game modes and more customizable like features within the game, I would have to think it's only going to get bigger and that we're not seeing the peak. At least that's what my heart tells me. Like I said, we've seen that go both ways, but that's really what I believe for this game.
Yeah, I don't think we're at a peak by any means. I think Riot is also, and that's a big factor of this, is Riot has taken a game like League of Legends and you know, have kind of
continuously gotten it bigger and better.
Right, exactly. So I'm sure people have told you a couple years ago, oh, maybe League has hit its peak, and yet it constantly seems to be getting bigger and bigger each year. So,
and imagine we still are waiting for like the Riot League. You know, like this.
We're still waiting for the champion. Like people keep thinking, like, oh, the Masters. The Masters was not like a major. That's why I keep trying to say is like, for the sake of conversation, yeah, NA was champions, and yeah, they won a major, quote unquote. But it's not. It was just like a leg of the race, right? Like you just won
in the history
books.
This will just go down as the first LAN event.
Right.
That's what this is going down as, right? The first champion will be at Champions. Like that will be written as your first major winner, then your second major winner. Like that's what people will look at. Like you look at the TI, like you look at CSGO majors.
You'll raise a banner for this, but you're not getting a ring. You know,
it's like COD stages essentially, right? Like in to some effect. Obviously, this has more meaning because there was you automatically lock in your spot.
Right. You said it last time. This was the MSI. This was your mid-season whatever. So,
yeah.
Either way, though, yeah, incredible first year. Happy birthday, Valorant. And also, on a side note, I know that card that came out that was like 48 hours. I know people are still having a hell of a time trying to get it. And I know Riot has even taken it down from their postings and all that. So the duality player card, I guess just keep an eye on it.
I haven't even tried again since that first day, to be honest with you.
I've tried, and every time I do it, it doesn't. I'll even try to do it right now live on the show, and it constantly doesn't even let me do it. So who knows? Who knows? I feel like this is going to be like the beta thing all over again, where they're just going to give people who couldn't do it, like a special card. So, but yeah, that's all I have for Valoranting. Let's see. Submit. You have reached your maximum entries for this code. So, I don't know what that means. Maybe I already have it. Who knows? I also think the night market is open today. So, happy birthday to everyone there. All right. So there's that real quick, because I think it does warrant at least enough talk outside of E-News, Anuj. But let's give our thoughts.
I think so too.
Let's give our thoughts on the big news out of Counter-Strike. I don't want to dwell on it too long because it's also just one of those we'll have to wait and see, but it still rocked the Counter-Strike world, and that is coldzera being benched on FaZe. Is it expected? I say no. You say...
Yeah, no, I was shocked. Like, how the hell is Rain still holding a spot, but coldzera is the guy that needs to get benched? Granted, he has not...
Let alone, though, not even benched for like, oh, they're signing Simple, so we're benching Cold. No. He got benched for the guy who is in and out of the retirement house.
Yeah, like Olaf, to me, that's a temporary replacement. Like, if they're getting Olaf, they just needed to bench Cold now. And for Cold, it's interesting because like Yanko came out and kind of had some tweets that I don't want to say were shots at coldzera, but
they were definitely
okay.
shots.
They were right. Like so
no,
like,
they were
saying
sniper shots. There was no question what it was about. He was saying Cold is the problem.
Yeah, he was saying that he needs to be humbled. Like that he needs to be humbled, and he probably had it in his head that he was still a top 3 player in the world, but not performing that way.
No.
And look, we want to talk about big buyouts. This was like the first big buyout that kind of rocked the Counter-Strike world. When Cold went over there. So I'm surprised by the move. I don't think this is going to make them better in any way. Like I don't think they're going to be able to bring in somebody that is going to elevate this team. This team has a lot of problems. Kerrigan has been terrible since taking over the IGL role. Twist has been like okay, right? Like he hasn't been like a shining star.
It's hard to judge Twists because the team has just been so blah.
They have, but he's like, you could at least looking at his numbers, like they're okay. You know, he's had some really good games. He's had some very average or below Twist level games, but and then Rain, I think was inconsistent. You know, so that also makes it tough when you have somebody that's inconsistent on the team. You have an IGL who's not really doing much of anything at the moment. Like he's not playing nearly at a high enough level to be a tier 1 team. And then you have Twist, who is not dominating as a top 10 player kind of talent consistently. And then Cold also doing the same. You're probably paying him like a top 5 player, and he's playing like a top 30, 40 player in Counter-Strike. So all of these things, you know, for FaZe, we've talked about it several times. I don't know how they rebound. I don't know where they go from here. I don't think that just bringing in one player is going to resolve this issue. And, they're going to be, I think, in the struggle lane for a little bit of time. Like it's not going to be a quick bounce back for them by getting in. They would have to bring in a very, very talented player. And if Olaf is the long-term solution, like I think Olaf was probably better off taking his hand at Valorant to seeing what was out there than coming back and expected to all of a sudden regain your status as one of the best in Counter-Strike.
Yeah, I just don't see like how you were saying is like, oh, they have to just bring in someone really good. Well, they've already cut Nico, right? They're already benching Cold. They've already brought in Twists. Like, what more? Like, who do you want?
That's the thing. Look at the names that you just mentioned.
Who do you want them to bring
team.
in?
Nobody. I mean, there's really... I know the name Rops gets thrown around there a lot to be able to get him in there. He's on a team that's ranked significantly higher than FaZe right now. They're coming off of a Flashpoint 3 win. Maybe if they had tanked terribly if Flashpoint 3 and things hadn't been looking good and, you know, Dexter looked like a bad move, this could be more of a potential option. But
and I've always wondered
if looks 10 steps ahead of where FaZe is right now.
I always wonder if Rops has a little chip on his shoulder with FaZe too. Because you remember when Rops was first brought in with Mouse Sports, that's when Nico was leaving for FaZe. Like it was supposed to be kind of Nico and Rops, and then Nico signed with FaZe, and they played that one last tournament pretty much together. I've always wondered if there was a chip on his shoulder for that, kind of like Mouse is my team. Like this team was built around me when they brought me in super young and took a chance, right? So I don't buy into the Rops to FaZe. Like you said, why would Rops look at FaZe and be like, wow, I need to get it with that.
Like, that looks exciting with an expiring IGL
Right.
and all the other things that we've mentioned today. Like, I just don't see that being an option again, unless Mouse has just really tanked it over the past few months and not done well in Flashpoint. Okay, maybe he also wants a change in scenery, but they look good right now.
So there you have it. There is currently some CS roster mix-up with Cold being benched, and maybe this is just a wake-up call. Maybe this is just a temporary shot saying, hey, dude, we need you to be better. Like, you are not untouchable, right? You can also be benched, and you can also be cut. So there's that. Let's get into some e-news, but before we do that, let's tell you about Philly Esports. PhillyEsports.net. They are friends of the show. They host monthly online events where you and typically a friend can get together, win some cash for free. What more can you ask for? Their June event coming up it is June 2nd, next weekend, June 12th. 2v2, free to enter, Rocket League event, $500 prize pool. Wow. This could be where your pro career starts. PhillyEsports.net. We also have a lot more news to come out about them with a lot more events sponsored by the U.S. Army. So we'll get into that, though, more in future episodes when we can kind of hash out the dates with them and get a little bit more ideas. Maybe you could even be playing for TCR. Imagine the honor of playing with us. PhillyEsports.net. Go ahead and check them out. All right, with e-news, some CSGO. Mouse defeats Nip in Flashpoint Season 3 Finals 2-1, which I think we talked about that last week, did we not? Last episode? Am I crazy?
We might have. I thought it was worth mentioning again.
It all runs together.
Yeah.
Continue drama with Akuma in the CIS RMR event.
Man, like all these cheating accusations, like the coach for Navi came out on the podcast with HLTV and talked about it on there and like was directly accusing. Simple made some tweets, and it's kind of reminding me of the whole Leaf situation because we don't have any actual proof that they are cheating. Like they just beat these teams, and yes, there are suspicions around them, but it is crazy. So this information is getting sent over to ESIC, and they'll do some further investigations as if they don't have enough on their hands. Like, where's our match fixing scandal team name still, guys? If you don't mind sharing that. But yeah, I mean, it's just crazy what's going on with the RMR side for CIS, and yet Val stays silent, decides not to chime in yet.
That's the least surprising part of all of this. IEM Summer is kicking off tomorrow. So probably in the AM. By the time you are listening to this, we'll probably already have our first match. This is a big event. So IEM Summer is typically always a big one, but COVID hasn't stopped that. We do have a lot of big teams there. Pretty much anyone who is anyone there but Team Liquid. So,
is Liquid not attending?
I don't see them on the list. Liquid is not there. Evil Geniuses is, though.
4 out of the top 5 teams, though.
Yeah. No, I mean, like I said, you do have big teams there. So we'll keep everyone up to date and discuss that throughout the week. Also, one other roster move here, not as big a deal, but Zeus steps down as head coach of Evil Geniuses. Very telling on where Evil Geniuses is headed, right? He's not really one to abandon ship, but if he is abandoning, then I'd have to imagine it's not going well for Evil Geniuses. Maybe he's leaving to make a Brazilian super team with Cold. Never know.
Get like Cold, Taco, Fur.
Man, we've never seen that one happen before.
No.
In Overwatch news, Hastro, owner of Dallas Fuel, have announced that for all intents and purposes, the team is sticking together for Overwatch 2, even with the 5v5 switch. So we'll see. Talk is talk now.
Well,
I'm sure every team is saying that.
And probably nice to say that after you finally found success in Overwatch, right? Like to think that you might have to break up that roster after what they just went through with Empire.
I was about to say, poor Hastro, though. That is the curse right there. I just now am putting this together. If the Envy org wins, they have the league changes. Like if NV won in Counter-Strike, it would then turn to 4v4. Like it's just
Can you imagine?
It's just how it works.
Yeah.
In other FPS news, Battlefield is set to be revealed. The new Battlefield, Battlefield 6 is what everyone's calling it right now. June 9th.
What's odd about that date, Tim?
That would be days, not weeks, days before E3. So I went a rant on this on Twitter once, but and I'm going to write a blog about this as well, but game studios, developers, publishers, I don't know who to blame on this one, but somewhere on the pecking order is ruining E3 for you and me, the everyday man. They are ruining it for all of us. Let E3 be Christmas morning where all the presents are wrapped and you get to unwrap them and the excitement and the adrenaline of the unknown is there. Stop announcing crap weeks before this big event. Let the big event be the reveal, because now you're going to reveal it. E3 is going to happen. You're going to show a trailer I've already seen, and then you're just going to give me some details that could have been summed up in a post. Let the reveal happen at E3 to get the hype going.
I don't know why everyone's so hell-bent on like kind of killing. Like, I don't want E3 to be an indie dev show. Like, I love the indie dev community, but I'm looking for like big AAA titles and
I don't want it to be updates either. I want reveals.
No, like I'm not looking for, oh, here's WoW patch 9.1 information. Like this is what's coming up in our future. Like that's not what I'm looking to see here. Okay, like you can save that for, like you said, a really nice little blog post for us. But yeah, I mean, 3 days before the event, I'm just like, didn't you want to be the highlight, the star of that show, and like all the rave be about you coming out with all these other games that were talked about instead of, you know, doing your own thing? But either way, I'm excited for the reveal. Still gonna be a fun reveal. Definitely gonna tune in and watch that. Been excited for this game for quite some time. I hope it lives up to the hype. I'm excited for modern day warfare, Republicans versus Democrats, like however they want to do it. Like it should be fun. Wouldn't that be something? Like it's a civil war in urban America. Liberals versus Democrats, or liberals versus Republicans. That would be something. And like liberals, they give them like knives, and Republicans get like guns, and like just see how it fights out. That would be fun to see.
Pretty sure that was already Battlefield Hardpoint.
Is that what it was?
That was a zinger. Had another joke I was gonna say, didn't, because I'm an adult. I have 2 kids now, and I don't make those kind of jokes. Also, in other Battle Royale news, Fortnite World Cup 2021 is delayed. They are now saying it's going to be in Q2 of 2022. So now we are going on, what, 2 or 3 years with nothing out of esports Fortnite. A game that is still wildly popular and successful and makes $1 billion still to this day. Anuj has held the trophy for the biggest esports event the world has ever seen, and yet nothing. It's like they had no plan B whatsoever.
Like they're banking on their championship series that they do, right? Like that's all they really do, which is like big for that community, but it doesn't have a lot of reach outside of the Fortnite community. No. And so that's what the World Cup does for you, is it builds hype outside of your normal fan base. So, you know, the championship series isn't bad. Like you can kind of dive into that and see that the money there is also really good, and it's like a competitive series with good teams, but it just doesn't draw any attention outside of their community at all. Like you don't really hear much about it until there's a finals or somebody wins, and then it's talked about for a brief moment.
In FGC news, Sony has announced that they will be hosting an EVO Light event, is what I will call it, leading up to EVO. They're hosting a handful of tournaments with actual like decent prize pools, 75,000 here and there. So far, though, what I'm seeing, it's all PlayStation titles. So don't know how that bodes well, because now keep in mind, Sony owns EVO now. They bought out EVO. Don't know how that bodes well for Xbox titles to be there, but thankfully most Xbox games can also be played on PC. Maybe Sony shows some love, maybe they don't, maybe it's Sony only. I guess it's TBD.
I mean, I'm cool with them doing their own event before EVO if they want it. It's like their own event essentially.
Right,
so
right.
Yeah, as long as EVO stays open, then this is just another event, so who cares?
We'll see. We'll see. Anuj, would you like to handle this one?
Exciting news from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles front, and you probably wonder why we have random e-news with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles often. It's because Tim and I love the shit out of these guys, okay? Anything that they put out to us is gold, and we are both highly anticipating the new video game. I say new. Remake of the old video game.
It is funny, because in our discussion the other day, we were like, man, just no game is doing it for me. And we both were like, I just kind of want this Ninja Turtles game. Like
that's all I think about.
Battlefield.
That and Battlefield.
Another Diablo 4. Like, I guess okay, but this Ninja Turtle game? I'm asking off of work. Like,
yeah,
I'm going to
I'll take a day off to play that. Well, Seth Rogen's new CG animated movie has a release date. It is like really far out to announce this. I was a little surprised. I thought I read the date wrong, but August 11th, 2023. Still going to be badass. I think it's going to be hilarious with Seth Rogen behind the helm and kind of leading this. I can assume we're going to have an amazing personality from the likes of Michelangelo and the way Raphael is. Like, I'm excited for this. I think he'll do a really, really good job with it and have some fun with it. Hopefully he's as high as possible when he's writing this script, but I see a lot of pizza, a lot of jokes, and an all around kind of good time, which is what I've enjoyed from them for so long.
We'll see.
And then this last one here,
it's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, so hopefully that will carry Seth Rogen.
I threw this on here just because it is going to be a big event, and I mean it's going to draw a lot of attention. But the Floyd Mayweather Logan Paul fight is coming up in just a handful of days here, June 6th. You'll probably be able to watch it all over Twitch, even though they're charging $50 for it. You will find hundreds of streams if you just want to tune in. Look, I'm actually curious to see if this is how rigged is this. I'll know pretty damn quick.
What round is Floyd Mayweather just gonna throw it?
Like, what if they paid him to like lose the fight? Like, just offered him a crazy sum.
That's
and,
what I'm saying.
Logan
like
Paul...
he's like,
Paul's
for gonna win.
Throw. Yeah, that'll like really show us how rigged this crap is. So,
that's what. If there's one thing I've learned from all these Logan Paul fights is that they're all 100% rigged.
Yeah, that Jake Paul one that just happened was insane, like insanely fake. And so, curious to see how this is, because his brother Jake Paul, the one that just beat that other guy, signed to fight.
Are they both fighting?
Woodley.
Am I just now realizing that it's not the same dude fighting every time?
Yeah, it's both brothers.
I thought one was a fighter
Logan
and one
Paul
wasn't.
has been the one fighting KSI this whole time. If you know who KSI is, a huge YouTuber from Europe.
I did.
Jake Paul is the one that fought Ben Askren here recently. He is fighting Woodley coming up, which is a beastly man in the MMA and has won multiple world titles. So, like, I want to see, is this shit real? Because these guys should really knock the hell out of them, like enough to where they might not be able to create content again. So, kind of curious to see how these play out. But yeah, just a couple days away, and I know that the hype is like kind of real around these fights coming up.
Prong Attack says in chat that he thinks they've announced the rules for the Logan Mayweather fight, and there's like no official winner and there's no judges or anything like that. So, but that doesn't mean he can't get knocked out. Right? I guess.
Yeah, like even if there's no winner, it should be very evident that Floyd won the fight, I guess is what I'm saying, right? Like it shouldn't be much of a question, even if there was no judges. Plus, judges in boxing don't mean anything. They're all hacks anyway.
This is true. But you know what's not?
There's a TikToker versus YouTube fight coming up on June 12th. Did you know that this is a thing? Are you like in the know enough to know about this?
Do you think I'm in the know enough about that? I didn't know that there were two Logan Paul brothers fighting. It is impressive how little I know about the YouTube, TikTok, social media world.
I don't know why I know so much about it.
You know a lot about it, which is weird.
I do. You know what? It's because I'm on TikTok and like they pop up on my For You page.
Yeah,
so
see,
it's
I don't even own TikTok.
See.
Own TikTok. Now I sound like my dad. I don't have a TikTok account. I don't own that.
You don't have the app available on your...
I never created an account. We will be back... What is today? Wednesday. We will be back Sunday night talking some I Am Summer. Where's Cold going? Maybe we have some more information there. who knows? Maybe we'll stream a little bit this weekend on the new PC. We'll test that out. Got to still get some kinks worked out here and there, but so far I think this show went well. If the audio sounds goofy, let me know. Follow us on Twitter at The Center Ring. Join our Discord. Be a part of the conversation there. Thank you to Alt and Philly Esports for sponsoring the show as always. And until next time, for Anuj, I'm Tim. We'll see ya.